Hello students, welcome to this session. I've just solved this NEET test 92. It is 12:15 AM right now and I am here with the analysis of this paper. As per me, 14 were easy means actually very easy. 26 medium, most of them will be easy for you. 33rd, I think the language is not correct and the options that come from this language are not given in the option. And 5 I have regarded as tough. 1, 2 you won't find tough because these are very general questions you must have done, but because they were mathematically slightly challenging, so I have regarded them to be tough. So today I have, let's say, being biased to give more easy to in the medium category and medium to the tough category. That is what you are seeing, more questions in medium. I could have classified them into easy as well. So as per this, I think it's a very good paper. It's a very good paper to check your preparation. It's a nice paper. It's not easy, not too difficult, but it's a very challenging paper. And going by my analysis that I do, 14 I suppose you should do, and half of that you should do 14 and 13 27. 27 basically leaves with 108, so at least I say 110 should be the score anyone who is looking anything in physics should get, and those who are doing very good in physics should at least get 150 marks at least in this paper. And that is regarding this paper. So let's see what is now. First question: electron jumps from n equal to 4 level to n equal to 1 level, the angular momentum will change by. So simply, you know, angular momentum in any level is nh by 2 pi. So from 4 to 1 in 4 it was 4h by 2 pi, now it is h by 2 pi. So that delta L will be, it has decreased and the amount would be 4 minus 1 times h by 2 pi, that is 3h by 2 pi. So it's an easy one to begin with. This is option C that we are going to tick. Now question number 2. When a hydrogen atom is raised from ground energy level to excited energy level, then, so when the energy level is excited, that definitely means energy increases, and we know potential energy also increases, but the kinetic energy decreases, because kinetic energy is positive and these two are negative. So you just remember, in the first state we write energy as minus 13.6, in second we write it as minus 3.4. so the magnitude is decreasing but negative it is, so we will say it will increase while the kinetic energy will definitely decrease. So what we'll say, potential energy increases and kinetic energy decreases. So it's an easy one again. Next, your body of mass m1 colliding elastically with m2 at rest. If the velocity of m1 after collision becomes 2/3 its initial velocity, the ratio of their masses is, if you remember the direct formula, the v1 final would be m1 minus m2 upon m1 plus m2 times u1 plus 2m2 u2 upon m1 plus m2. If you remember, you can use this, otherwise you can derive it. So u2 was 0, so it is m1 minus m2 upon m1 plus m2 into u, and what we are given, this is 2 by 3 times of initial velocity, that is 2/3 of u. That means m1 minus m2 over m1 plus m2 is 2 over 3. So what I can write, 3m1 minus 3m2 is equal to 2m1 plus 2m2. So doing this, what we are left with, this is m1 is equal to 5m2. So m1 by m2 ratio you can say as 5:1. So we'll go for option B, 5:1. Next, a particle at rest suddenly disintegrates into two particles of equal masses which start moving. The two fragments will, because it was initially at rest, so the final momentum will be 0, so they will be going in opposite directions, and because masses are same, their speeds will also be same. So in same direction no, in any direction no, in opposite direction with equal speeds to have the momentum as 0. Next one, figure shows the total acceleration as 32 meter per second square of a moving particle moving clockwise in a circle of radius 1 meter. Okay, what are the centripetal acceleration and the speed of the particle? So you can make it out, the component towards center, that is a cos 60, that is AC is equal to a cos of 60, that is 32 cos 60, you know, is 1 by 2, that is 16 meter per second square, and that you know is equal to v square by r. So AC is 16 first of all, and we will get v square as 16 into 1, so v is equal to 4 meter per second. So that is option number D that we can take out for this question number 5. So this is D. Next one, you have a short bar magnet of moment this, find the magnetic field produced by the magnet at a distance of 10 centimeter at an axial point. So an axial point, the magnitude of field is 2 times mu naught by 4 pi into m by r cube. So it is 2 times mu naught by 4 pi, you know, is 10 to the power minus 7, m is 0.48 and r cube is 0.1 whole cube, that is 10 to the power minus whole cube minus 1 whole cube, that is 10 to the power minus 3 you can write. So this is 0.96 into 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla I can go for. So option A is the most appropriate one. Next, two unknown resistances are connected in two gaps of a meter bridge. Okay, the null point is obtained at 40 centimeter from left end. A 30 ohm resistance is connected in this series with the smaller of the two. The null point shifts by 20 to the right. The value of smaller resistances. So let's say the smaller one is R, bigger one is S. So R by S was 40 by 60. Now this is the smaller one because it is, therefore it is 40. So we have added 30. So now we have R plus 30 as new R dash upon S. This is now shifted by 20. So it becomes 60 by 40. You can make it becomes 60 by 40. So what is the value of the smaller resistance in ohm? So what do you do? Divide them. You will get R over R plus 30. That will be 40 into 40 over 60 into 60. Cancels the zeros. So you have 16 over 36, or you can write it as 4 over 9. So 9R is 4R plus 120. 5R is 120. So R is 120 by 5. You can directly go for this is going to be 24 ohms for sure. Next one. A long wire is divided into two N parts. The N parts are connected in series. Okay, two N parts. N parts are connected in series and the other N parts are connected in parallel. Okay, both the combinations are given the same voltage supply. The ratio of heat produced in series to the parallel. So in the series one, you say R equivalent would be, let's say, N times R naught. R naught is of single part, and in the parallel one, the equivalent would be R naught by N. So you have given the same voltage. So here power would be V square upon N R naught. Here the power would be V square upon R naught by N. So if I divide the ratio, this is P series to P parallel. So this P series to P parallel, if you will do, this will come out as P series and P parallel, it will come out as 1 by N square. That is, you can say, so series to parallel is 1 by N square. Go for option B here. Next, a charge Q is placed at center of a line joining two equal point charges each equal to Q. The system of three charges will be in equilibrium if Q is equal to. So what you have, this is Q, this is Q, this is Q. So this will definitely be in equilibrium. Now for this to be in equilibrium, this capital Q, because of same polarity, it will oppose a repulsion force, which is KQ by KQ square by R square. That should be countered by the attraction by this one. That means Q sign will be opposite to them. And what is the magnitude of this force? KQQ. I am just checking the magnitude, and this distance would be R by 2. So it would be R square by 4 should be equal to KQ square by R square. So from here you can directly make out 4Q is equal to Q. So Q is Q by 4, but we have checked the sign, so I will write it as minus Q by 4. So go for option D. This is again a generalized question you must have seen before. Now 2 point charges Q and minus Q are at positions 0 0 D and 0 0 minus D. What is the electric field at A, 0, 0? That means this is on Z axis, this is on Z axis, one at positive, one at negative. They will form a dipole, and dipole moment is Q into D. It would be 2D, and from minus to positive it would be K cap, because negative one is minus D and that positive one is plus D. So the direction would be K cap. Now electric field at A, 0, 0. So I can say the center to be, I can take to be origin. So A, 0, 0, this would be an equatorial point. So at an equatorial point, the electric field that we write is equal to minus Kp by RQ. So that would be minus K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, P is Q into 2D, and this will be minus K cap automatically comes, and R cube here means A cube. So what are we getting? What we will getting is 2QD upon 4 pi epsilon naught A cube K cap. That is what we can write. But that is the formula, that if A is much greater than D, but that is not written, so this theory won't work for us in this case. But what can work, the direction, we know it is minus 2 will be in K cap, so I can still use this formula to get to the correct option. But the actual way here will be, let me tell you, it would be like, now let it be x axis, let y axis going inwards, and z be like this. So you have plus Q here, and you have this minus Q here, and this is the point A, 0, 0. So due to plus Q, we will say the field would be like this. Due to minus Q, the magnitude will be same, but it would be like this. Let it be E naught magnitude, let it be E naught magnitude. So we will have it like this. This would be the net field coming towards minus K cap. And how we will do this? Let's say this angle is theta, this angle will also be theta. So we have 2 E naught sin theta. First of all, what is E naught? E naught would be KQ by R square. R square here would be this distance is a and this distance is d, so that is a square plus d square. And what we have, net field magnitude would be 2 e naught sin theta, that is 2 kq a square plus d square. And what is sin theta? Sin theta here would be this distance you have given as d, so that is d upon root of a square plus d square. So it is 2kqd upon a square plus d square to the power 3 by 2. So you get that, and the direction you have taken as minus k cap. So the option C is the most appropriate one. So this is the way here, because it is not mentioned that a is much greater than d, otherwise that would have been suffice. Next, the value of inductance L for which the current is maximum in a series LCR AC circuit with C is this and omega is this. So you can directly say resonance it is talking about, so omega naught is 1 by root of LC. So the value of L is 1 upon omega naught square C, which is 10 to the power 6, it becomes 10 to the power 3 whole square, and this is 10 and 10 to the power minus 6, so it becomes 0.1 Henry, or you can call it as 100 millihenry in this particular case. I think this is also repeated from previous tests. Now some magnetic flux is changed from a coil of resistance 10 ohm. As a result, induced current is developed, which varies with time as shown in figure. The magnitude of change in flux. So I can directly make it out. The area under this IT curve is delta Q, and y Q transferred, that is equal to N delta phi by R magnitude wise. So you have to just check the magnitude. Ideally it is negative sign. So what is delta Q? Area under the curve. Area under the curve is half base into height, that is 0.1 into 4, that is 0.4 by 2, that is 0.2. N you are not given, so 1 I can take. Delta phi I need to find out, and R is 10, so delta phi is 10 into 0.2, that is 2 Weber. Nothing to do in this, direct 2 Weber you can write. Next, for a satellite, escape speed is 11. If the satellite is launched at an angle of 60 degree with the vertical, then escape velocity that does not depend on the angle, it will still remain 11. No need to get confused, you know this concept very well. 4 particles of okay, here I think I have taken screenshot too early and the options are not here. Don't worry, I'll tell you what they are. 4 particles of equal mass m move along a circle of radius r under the action of their mutual gravitational attraction. The speed of each particle is. So 4 particles of equal mass move along a circle of radius r. Let's say take it like this. Okay, and let's do it. Okay, so this is let me have with a color one. Now this is a circle. So 4 particles move under the action of the mutual gravitational attraction. So you can directly make it out. They will be on some square sort of thing like here. They will be lying on a square sort of thing, something like here. And for this square, I can make it out. This distance is going to be 2r. So this 2r is diameter. So this is a. I can say root 2a is equal to 2r. So a is equal to root 2r. Okay, this is the first thing we will do. Now the speed of each particle will be, so this is m, this is m, this is m, this is m. So from symmetry what I can say, the net force on this m due to other 3, this will put a force here, let me call it F naught. So this will also put a force F naught. This distance is root 2 times, so force will become half. You all know this thing, because if you write, there would be a square, that would be root 2a square, that is 2a square. So write it as F naught by 2. So the net force acting towards center would be, if I add these two, it would be along this root 2 F naught. So that is root 2 plus 1 by 2 into F naught. F naught would be gm square by a square, and that should be equal to mv square by r. So what we have, 2 root 2 plus 1 upon 2 gm square upon a square, and I can write a square as 2r square, that would be equal to m v square by r I can write. So this is m square, m and m cancel, r and r cancel. So v comes out as root of 2 root 2 plus 1 upon 4 gm by r, I can make it out. So 2 root 2 plus 1 by 4 into root of gm by r, and this is given in D option like this, same root gm by r 2 root 2 plus 1 by 4. This is D. Rest of options you can make it out from the app, but this is the answer D. I'll go for. This is question number 14. Next, you have 4 rods of the same material with different radii r and length used to connect 2 heat reservoirs. Which one will conduct most heat? I think this is also a repeated one. We know H is equal to Ka delta T by L. So delta T is same, K is same. So H would be proportional to A by L, or you can say it is proportional to R square by L. So just check it here. Here what I'll do, r square by L, this would be 1 square by 1, units will be same. Second, here would be 1 square upon 1 by 2, so that would be 2 times. Here it would be 2 square by 2, 2 square by 2, here means it would be again 2. This is 2 square by 1 by 2, that is 8. So definitely this is going to be the maximum conducting one, so go for option D here. Next, the relation between efficiency of a heat engine and the coefficient of performance alpha of a refrigerator is. So how to get this relation? You might be knowing this, but let me derive it. What we say, alpha we did write as alpha, or not alpha, we are talking first of neta. Neta is W upon QH, or you write it as 1 minus QC by QH, whatever you write. And alpha we write it as QC by W, and both QC plus W is equal to QH, though the W meaning is different in the two, but we can write it like this. So what I can write it as QC upon QH minus QC. So what I can write, 1 upon alpha, I can write it as QH by QC minus 1. And if I write that QH by QC from here, so QH by QC, if I write from there, that will become 1 minus neta. So 1 upon 1 minus neta I can write. This is like we have minus 1. So what we have, 1 by alpha is, if we do this, this will become neta and this will become 1 minus neta. So doing this, 1 minus neta is equal to neta times alpha. So what I can write, neta can be written as 1 upon 1 plus alpha. So that is the option B I can do. You can do it more better way, I suppose. Next, during the adiabatic expansion of 2 mole of an ideal gas, the increase in internal energy was this. It is adiabatic expansion, internal energy is decreased basically. So work done is plus 200 joule. You can directly make it out because delta U is equal to negative of W. If this is negative, it means this W quantity will be positive for sure. Next, 2 circular coils X and Y you have the equal number of turns and carry equal current. So same number of turns, same current in same sense and subtend same solid angle at O. The smaller coil X is midway between O and Y. Okay, then if we represent the magnetic induction due to bigger coil Y at O as By and that due to smaller coil at XO as Bx, then now this is an interesting one, how you will do this. So first of all, what we say, and at an axial point, just remember the formula that we use is mu naught Ni r square upon 2 r square plus x square to the power 3 by 2. I can write it like this. So both have same number of turns, both have same number of both have same current. Now because this angle is same, the symmetry says if this is a radius rx and now this is a radius ry. So because this distance is now 2d, so what I can make it out, ry will also be equal to 2rx from the symmetry of that angle thing. Okay, so if what we can do here, so by upon bx, if I have to do, this would be come out as ry upon rx whole square into rx square, or let me write it properly, it would be rx square plus d square to the power 3 by 2 upon ry square plus 4d square to the power 3 by 2. So ry by rx, ry is double, so this would be 4 times. Now rx square plus d square you have written like this, and ry square is 2, so that 4, so 4 ki power 3 by 2, 8 will come out, and 8 into this is rx square plus d square to the power 3 by 2 will cancel, so it is 4 by 8, so it comes out as 1 over 2. So as per this, the option that I'll select is option C. Next, you have 2 ions having masses in the ratio 1:1, charges 1:2, projected into uniform field perpendicular to the field with speeds 2:3, the ratio of the radius. So R you know is equal to mv by qb. So speed ratio you are given, charge ratio given, mass ratio given, field is same. So what I can make it out, R1 by R2 is m1 over m2 into v1 over v2 into q2 over q1. So m1 upon m2 is 1:1, and v1 is 2, v2 is 2:3, and charge ratio would be 2:1, so it comes out as 4:3. Go for the first option, the radiuses ratios will be 4:3. Next one, 2 children, Ramesh on path ARB, Sohan ASB travel down slides of identical height h but different shapes. Assuming they start down the frictionless slide at the same time with zero initial velocity, which of the following statement is true? Ramesh reaches the bottom first with the same average velocity as Sohan. Ramesh reaches the bottom first with a larger average acceleration than Sohan. Ramesh reaches the bottom first with same average acceleration as Soham, and they reach the bottom at the same time with same acceleration. So what we have here, just look at it. If I see this, just look at this, here the steepness is more. So this person, this is a part taken by Ramesh. So when the Ramesh goes, its acceleration initially would be much larger. So it will gain speed at a faster rate, so it will travel here faster. Here it is slow to gain the speed, its acceleration increases afterwards, but again because it has increased first, it will travel faster. So you can directly make it out for the overall thing. If we do for the overall thing, definitely Ramesh will reach faster and hence will have a larger average acceleration. So you have to just go by the logic which is being given here. So you can directly say Ramesh is going to reach faster and at a larger average acceleration in this particular case. Next, a boat is sent across a river with a velocity of 8 kmph. The resultant velocity of the boat is 10 kmph. Then the velocity of the river is. So what is the velocity of the river is? So sent across a river with velocity of 8 kmph. If the resultant velocity of the boat is 10 kmph, so sent across a river, so here it is meaning that VBR that you have done is like this. So VBR is this and VR is this, and as a result the VB is like this. So in this case, because these two are perpendicular, I can say VB square is VBR square plus VR square. So VR would be root of VB square minus VBR square. So that comes out as 10 square minus 8 square, 100 minus 64, it would be 6 kmph in this particular case. So I'll go for option B here, 6 kmph. Next, you have a 24 kg block resting on a floor, has a rope tied to its top. The maximum tension the rope can withstand without breaking is 310. The minimum time at which the block can be lifted a distance of 4.6 by pulling up the rope is. So first of all, so maximum acceleration I can make out, maximum acceleration would be T max minus mg by m, that would be 310 minus 240 by what we can say, or looking at the data, let's say go by 9.8, that would be better. I think that is the logic, by the data I can make it out. So do it like this. So 310 minus 24 into 9.8 divided by 24, that you are getting. So this is the A max. So this is if you calculate it, let me calculate. 25 would have been better. I have taken 10, but options are closer. So let us take up, if we have taken as 24 8s are what we have 240, and if I make it out 48, this is 192, and 24 9s are, you know, is 240, 220, 216, 216, and 19 would be 235. So 235.2 upon 24, so it comes out as 64.8 by 24, that I can make it out. This is 64.8 divided by 24. We are, wait a minute, this is 310, sorry, I have taken it 300. So 310, so it would be 74.8 by 24, and if you do 24 2s are 48, and 48, what we are left with, we are left with 26. So 268 24 3s are, sorry, 72 2, so 28 is 1, and now what we have 4, that is 40, so it would be 3.1 something, let's say in 3 figures I can write it as 3.12 meter per second square. Now time would be, you can directly write S is ut plus half at square, u is 0, so t would be root 2 s by a, 2 into 4.6, and what is a will come out as 3.12. so what we are, 9.2 upon 3.12, so this is approximately less than 3, so it would be slightly lesser than 1.73, so I'll go for 1.7, that would be the answer. That is the closest one we can go for. Next, the coefficient of static friction mu s between A of 2 kg in the table as shown in the figure is 0.2. okay, maximum mass value of block B so that the two blocks do not move. So they do not move means this pulling force mbg is countered by this fs. So fs must be equal to mbg, and we know fs is less than equal to mu s normal on A, that would be equal to mag. So what we have, mb should be less than equal to mu s ma. So MB should be less than equal to mu s MA, that is 0.2 into 2, so it is 0.4. So maximum value of the B mass is 0.4 kg. You can go for in this option. So A is option 0.4 kg. Next, uranium 238 has 92 protons and 238 nucleons. It decays by emitting an alpha particle and becomes, so when it decays alpha particles, so 238 uranium, 92 when it undergoes alpha, that is 42 helium. So this reduces by 2, that is 90, plus what we have, this is 234, this is thorium that we write. So 234 thorium, that is going to be the answer. So this is option B. Very easy one for you. The half-life of a substance is 20 minutes. The approximate time interval between the T2 when 2/3 has decayed to T1 when 1/3 has decayed. This is a question already being asked in NEET or JEE Main. Similar concept asked in both examination. So just here what I see, just remember the style I am telling you. I have told you before also. Let's say this is the number of active nuclei with time. It goes like this. So this is N0. Now what is the time at T2 when 2/3 has decayed? 2/3 has decayed, that means the remaining one will be 1/3. That is T2. And what is T1? T1 when 1/3 had decayed, that means the remaining one will be 2 and not by 3. So now let it be x. So this becomes x by 2. So the number x to x by 2. So for any number to become half, always remember I tell you half-life is not a moment, it is a time window. So time half, t half is any time window in which the starting value will become half. So let's say if I take this window here, this value was x and this become x by 2, that means this window is t half interval. So this is t half, that is 20 minutes. So exactly 20 minutes will be taken between them. So always remember like this, whenever you have anything x, start from anywhere, whatever be the number to become half, you will need t half. Next one. So a meter stick swinging in a vertical plane about a fixed horizontal axis passing through its one end undergoes small oscillations of frequency f0. If the bottom of the stick is cut off, then its new frequency of small oscillation would become. Now, so in this case, you directly know the time period. This would be like what I can say, it would be a simple pendulum. So what we write, time period is 2 pi under root I by mgl, that we typically write. So here, what is I? I initially was ml square by 3 and length was L. Okay, so that was the time period that I get from here, ml square by 3. If I put m will cancel out, this will become ml square by 3, so it becomes L will cancel, so it would be L by 3g, that I can make it out. So the effective length of the simple pendulum that I'll talk about is L by 3. So when if the bottom half of the stick is cut off, that length is becoming half, so time period will become t by root 2. That means time period becomes root 2, that means frequency becomes root 2. You can directly go for, you need not check anything else. Next one. The displacement of a particle going SHM is this and this, a sin theta plus b cos theta, where distance is in centimeter and time is in seconds. The amplitude of motion is, whenever you get this, you directly know the amplitude would be under root a square plus b square, that is 8 square plus 6 square, that would be 10 centimeter. This is a very generalized question that you have done, so I'm not taking the detail of it. You must be knowing this, and if you are not knowing this, that means you are not at all prepared for SHM. If lambda v, lambda x, lambda m represent the wavelength of visible X-rays and microwaves. So what we would say, X-rays are the highest frequency here, so it will have the least wavelength. So least will be of lambda x. And microwave has the greatest wavelength, lowest frequency, so microwave would be highest. So this is the option B I'll go for. So just remember that EM spectrum. Next, a photocell is illuminated by a point source of light 1 meter away. When the source is shifted to 2 meter away, distance is doubled, so intensity will become 1/4. So lesser number of photons will arrive, so lesser number of electrons will come out, but the frequency will remain same, so the Kmax will still remain the same. So this is wrong. Is a quarter of the initial number? Yes, because intensity becomes 1/4, the number of electrons emitted would be 1/4. This is wrong, this is wrong, so it is 1/4. Go for option B. Intensity is 1 by r square, you know that. The lower end of a glass capillary is dipped in water. Water rises to a height of 9. The tube is then broken at a height of 5 centimeters. So this is insufficient length case. So this is insufficient length case. So water will rise to the full column, that is 5 centimeter. We have 3 options, and the meniscus will adjust itself to get that everything sorted out. So get this everything sorted out. That means what we directly write, H is 2s cos theta upon rho g A. So what we have, A is same, rho is same, G is same, S is same, 2 is same. So what we will have, H upon cos theta will remain same. So initially what we had 9 and cos theta initially was 1. Now what will happen for 5 centimeter? The meniscus will change, the theta will change, let it be cos theta dash. So that cos theta dash becomes 5 by 9 here. So 5 by 9, so cos inverse 5 by 9 and 5 centimeter, go for option A in this case. Automatically meniscus will adjust itself, that the pressure differences will be managed, but it won't flow out, it won't burst out like a fountain. You remember that case. Now question number 31. The radii of the two soap bubbles are R1 and R2. In isothermal condition, the two meet together in a vacuum. Then the radius of the resultant bubble. So it's in isothermal condition, you have to find what would be the radius of the resultant bubble. So this I think most of you remember, but let me do it again. Because it is isothermal condition, for first of all what I will say, the moles will remain same, so N1 plus N2 would be N final. So if I write the moles, so what is the air that is enclosed in that soap bubble, what we can write it as, this is P1 V1 upon RT. Because it is isothermal, temperatures will remain the same, that is PV final upon RT. So this RT goes. Now what is P1? P1, what we can make it out, the outside pressure we will assume because it is in vacuum, so the excess pressure is only the inside pressure, that would be 4s upon R1, and the volume you know is 4 by 3 pi R1 cube. Here it is 4s by R2 and the volume would be 4 by 3 pi R2 cube, and similarly that would be 4s by final, let's say R, and that is given in the options, and that would be 4 by 3 pi R cube. So 4 by 3 pi 4s, 4 by 3 pi 4s, 4 by 3 pi 4s, that is gone. So what you have, R1 square plus R2 square is equal to R square, that is what you will have as option C here. You can directly go for it. Next, the maximum refractive index of a prism is amidst the passage of light through it when the refracting angle of the prism is 90 degree. So what we know, the inside angles R1 plus R2 is equal to A. So what we have, R1 plus R2 is always equals to A. And so what we can have in the limiting cases, we know R1 should be less than theta c, R2 should be less than theta c. So the limiting case, maximum 2 theta c should be equal to A, or theta c is A by 2, which becomes 45 degree. So theta c is 45 degree, that means sin 45 degree is equal to 1 upon n. So n in this case becomes root 2. So the maximum angle that will maximum refractive index that will permit is root 2. And again I have told you, most of the time this prism angle has this root 2 answer. I don't know why, but this always comes. A ray of light is incident on a plane mirror at an angle of 30 degree. At what angle will the horizontal must a plane mirror be placed so that a reflected ray becomes vertically upwards? Okay. So ray of light is incident on a plane mirror at angle of 30 degree. At what angle with the horizontal must a plane mirror be placed so that the reflected ray becomes vertically upwards? Okay. So it becomes vertically upwards. It means what we have on a plane mirror at an angle of 30. So here what we have, let's assume this mirror was like this. It is incident at an angle 30 degree. So incidence angle we know is always measured with respect to normal. So it let me draw it again. Yeah, let's say like this. This comes at an angle 30 degree, so I know this will go out at an angle 30 degree also. Now finally you want it to be tilted. Let's say it should be tilted like that, so it becomes vertical. So what I know, if I tilt it by an angle theta, here the reflected ray will turn by 2 theta. So this has to be turned like this. This should finally become the reflected ray. So to turn it by 30 degree, that is equal to 2 theta. So I can directly make out the mirror should be turned by an angle of 15 degree, which is nowhere the option. Okay. And if I look at their solution, they have taken 30 degree from horizontal. That is not right, because the incident angle is always measured with respect to normal. If you take that 30, that becomes 60, so that deviation becomes 60, so theta becomes 30. So I don't agree with it. As per the language, it should be theta equal to 15 degree. Next, a rod PQ of mass m and length L is hinged at end P. The rod is kept horizontal by a massless string tied at point Q as shown in figure. When a string is cut, okay, the initial angular acceleration of the rod is, so as soon as it is cut, the only force acting torque producing force is mg, so torque would be mg L by 2, that is I alpha. I is, you know, is ml square by 3 into alpha. M and m goes, so this alpha comes out to be 3g by 2l. So this is 3g by 2l. Go for option A, that's an easy one. Next, a flywheel of the mi 0.4 kg per meter square and radius 0.2 meter free to rotate about a central axis. If a string is wrapped around it and it is pulled with a force of 10 Newton, its angular velocity after 4 seconds will be okay. So 10 Newton force wrapped around and for 4 seconds. So first of all, what we can say, the torque generated would be 10 into 0.2, that is 2 Newton meter. That torque is being pulled for 4 seconds. So what I can make it out and directly work done, or better to write, let's say alpha I can write, that is tau by I, that is 2 upon 0.4, that is 5 radian per second square. So after 4 seconds, omega will become 5 into 4, that is 20 radian per second. So you can directly go for 20 radian per second, option C in this case. Next one, what is the conductivity for pure semiconductor sample if electron density and hole density are given? So mu e mu h is given, so conductivity, you know, is Ne into E into mu e plus NH, that charge is also E, that into mu h. So taking E common, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, Ne, that is 5 into 10 to the power, I should write it as per centimeter cube, so in meter cube it should be 10 to the power 18 into mu is 2.3 and plus this is 8 into 10 to the power 19 into 0.01. So it is 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 19, it becomes 2.3 into 5, that is 23 5s are 115, so it has become 11.5 into 10 to the power 18 plus this is 8 into 0.01, that is 0.08 into 10 to the power 19. So I can write it as 1.15 into 10 to the power 19, 19 goes, it becomes 1.15 plus 0.08, so it is 1.6 into 1.23. So what we are left with, it would definitely be 1.968. Let me calculate for your satisfaction. 16 3s are 48, 16 2s are 32, 36, 16 1s are 16, 9.968. I can directly go for option B. So just remember the formula of conductivity. I doubt how many of you actually remember that. Next, the circuit gives the output as that of, okay, so what is the equivalent? This. So first of all, I'll go for that standard way I go only for truth table. Let all be 0. 0 0 0, this becomes 1, 0 0, NAND, therefore 1 1 and 1, so OR will give 1, so it will give 0. So it is 0, so that it clearly means it is not NAND, it is not NOR for sure. Now what we are OR and AND, so better is, let's say take it like 0 0 1, like, so 0 0, this will still give 1 and it is 1, so it is 0. So 1 and 0, again OR will give 1, so NOR will give 0. So again this is not going to be OR gate also, that is make it out, it is being cleared, so definitely it is going to be AND gate. Check it, it will be only 1 when all 3 are 1. When all 3 are 1, then only this is going to be 1 in this particular case. So it is an AND gate. Next one, air is pumped into an automobile tube up to a pressure of 200 kPa in the morning when the air temperature was 20. During day it rises to 42 and tube is risen by 2%, expanded by. The pressure of the air in the tube at this temperature will be approximately. So we know only PV equal to nRT, nothing else. So what we have, I'll assume the moles to be remaining the same. Moles will remain same, so P1 V1 upon T1 would be P2 V2 upon T2, combined gas law. So initial pressure was 200, initial volume was, let's say, V0 and temperature was 22, 22 means 295. Now what would be the final pressure? That is P final, volume has become 1.02 V0 as per the data, and this has become 42, 273 plus 40 is 313, this is 315. So P final is 200 into 315 upon 295 into 1 upon 1.02, that is what you are getting. So what to do it would be, let it by 5, this is 63, this is 59. So what we have, 200 into 63, 59 2s are, we have 59 2s are 118, So 118 and 1 will go, 59 and 1 60.08, 60.18. So it would be slightly greater than 1.05 I can suppose. So 1.05 if I can suppose, it would be like 210, closer to 210. So I'll go for 209 kPa. If you wish, you can do the lengthy calculations you wish, but it will come out to be 209 kilopascal from this data. So you might have to calculate, spend time here. Now in the relation, this is a standard question you must have done. P is the pressure, Z is the distance, K Boltzmann, theta temperature, dimensional formula of beta is, you know, this whole thing is dimensionless and this argument is dimensionless. So alpha Z upon K theta is dimensionless. Okay, so this is dimensionless. So dimension of alpha is K theta by Z that you are getting, K theta by Z that you are getting the dimension, and the dimension of P is equal to alpha by beta. So dimension of beta is alpha by P means K theta upon ZP. That is what you are getting. Now this is really interesting now for you. What we have, K is Boltzmann constant, so I can directly say Boltzmann constant you say is R upon Na. It is R upon Na thing that you have, and R what you had as joule per mole per Kelvin, and this mole thing will go, so it will be joule per Kelvin. That is the unit, you know, joule per Kelvin, so better use that. So joule per Kelvin, that means energy upon temperature, and this theta is also temperature, so this goes, Z is distance and P is force upon area. So what we can have, energy, I advise always remember ml2 t minus 2, area comes out, that is L2, Z is L, and F is mlt minus 2. So this L2 goes, M and M goes, T minus 2 goes. So what remains, whatever remaining, this T cancel, this is only L is remaining. So what is remaining, this is L to the power 2. So go for option A. It's actually a good question, might stump you. YDSE mica slab thickness T and refractive index is gone. I think it is be mu, is introduced in the ray from the first source S1. By how much distance its fringe pattern will be displaced. So how much distance it will be displaced. So what we can say, this part difference mu1 minus 1t should be this t sine theta. I can make it out. So this is d sine theta and this sine theta is tan theta. You write it as y by d. So this shift of the y coordinate would be, you can directly say mu minus 1t d by d. This is a standard result, you all might be knowing. This is B. Next one, again YDSE, one of the slit is wider, so that amplitude of the one slit is double. If IM be the maximum intensity and the resultant intensity I when they interfere at a phase difference, so this is again a repeated one. So what we have, because amplitude is doubled, intensity will become 2 times. So if I say I1, let's say of the first slit is I0 and the double one would be 4 I0. So what we have, I max, you can directly say it is root I0 plus root of 4 I0 whole square, that is 3 means 9 I0. So I0 is Im by 9, I can make it out. So general formula is I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2 cos phi, you all know. So I1 is I0 means it is Im by 9, I2 means it is 4 Im by 9. This is 2 times Im by 9 will come and root 4 will become 2 into cos of phi. So what it is, 5 Im by 9 plus 4 Im by 9 cos of phi. So what we are left with, let it Im by 9 common, 5 I can write it as 1 plus 4 cos phi. So we can have 4 times 1 plus cos theta is 2 cos square theta, so it will become Im by 9 into 1 plus 8 cos square phi by 2. So as per the option, this is coming out as D1. Now the 42nd, your metal wire linear density, this stretched tension, this kg weight, so tension would be 10 into g, so 9.8 will cancel. 1 meter apart at middle point between the poles of a permanent magnet, it vibrates in resonance when carrying an alternating current of frequency n. The frequency n of the alternating sources is now. So this is a case of a forced vibration, and because what we have the middle pointed between the poles of a permanent magnet, and so that would be basically serving as an antinode here. So the frequency I can write is as 1 upon 2L into V is root T by mu, I can directly say. So L is 1, T is 10 into 9.8, mu is 9.8, so this is cancelled, so this is root 10 upon 2, I can make it out. So this is root 10 upon 2, so this is root 10 upon 2, okay, it was gram per meter, so it is into 10 raised to power minus 3, so it is 10 to the power 4, so 100 by 2, so be careful with the data, it comes out as 50 hertz. So this option A will be the answer. Okay, so here we have gone that only the middle point is antinode, so it would be the fundamental frequency of the wire fixed at both ends that we have used. Next, consider a wire with density D, stress sigma. For the same density, the stress decreases 2 times the speed of the transverse wave along the wire changes by. So what we know, the velocity you typically write as what we write as tension upon mu. So what we can write, this mu can be written as rho times say density, volume density upon area, and T is what we can say, T is this would be T by A. Now T by A is stress, so what we can write it as stress upon density. That is also you write it, you remember like that. Now if the stress increases 2 times the speed of the transverse wave, directly you can say will become root 2 times in this case. The installation consisting of an electric motor driving a water pump left 75 liter of water per second to a height of 4.7 meter. If the motor consumes a power of 5 kilowatt, then the efficiency of the installation is. So first of all, how much work it is delivering per second? 75 liter of water means 75 kg. So 75 kg is lifted to a height of 4.7 into 10. I can make it out. This is the output. This is the power output. I can make it out. That is 750 into 4.7. So it is 75 into 47 you can write. So 47 5s you can write as 235, 47 7s you have 235 plus 94, 235 plus 94 will give you 335, 329. 329 plus 23, 329 plus 23 would be 352. So 355, 3525. So what I can write it is, let me write it properly, 3525 watt. So percentage efficiency would be 3525 upon 5000 into 100%. So you can clearly say it would be in 70s, I can make it out. So closer to 70, so it would be 69. I think that would be 9.8 will result in exact 60. I have taken 10, but from the option I can make it out, it would be closer to 69 one. Most appropriate one is this. Last, particle projected with velocity u making an angle theta with the horizontal, the instantaneous power of the gravitational forces. Okay, making an angle theta with the horizontal, let's say u at an angle theta, and let's say like this, the instantaneous power. So instantaneous power you know is F dot V. So F dot V is, the F is what you have, minus mg j cap, and dot V, this is Vx I cap plus Vy j cap, so it would be minus mg Vy. And this minus mg Vy varies as uy minus gt, so definitely it will vary linearly with the time. So it is not negative for complete path. Is it negative for the first half, positive for the second half? So average is 0, but it varies linearly with time. Go for option A in this particular case. So thanks for watching. Thank you once again.